Hi there, this is Cantor Mike Weis with part 2 of the overview of Torah and Haftarah cantillation. In the previous video, we laid the groundwork for this by showing you how to apply trope to an individual word and to use the trope to figure out the proper syllable to stress. In this video, we're going to take a look at the way that trope works to provide us with punctuation. But first, let's discuss briefly why punctuation actually matters. You remember our good friend, the Torah? Well, as you can clearly see, there is no punctuation here. We noticed that the last time we looked at it, but if we're going to be able to make sense of this text, it won't be enough to know how to pronounce the words. We also need to know where our sentences or where our verses start and end, where to put commas and other types of punctuation. So let's take a look at some examples from the English language to illustrate exactly what punctuation does for us. Here we have an awesome example of why we need punctuation. I don't know if this was a t-shirt or bumper sticker originally, but what it shows is that the addition of a simple little comma can completely change the meaning of the same three words. We could say, "Let's eat grandma," without a comma, and it sounds like we're actually planning on eating her. Or we could add a comma after eat and say, "Let's eat, Grandma," which is a lot nicer sounding, don't you think? Now, obviously, when you're speaking aloud, you can do things with inflection that you won't do when you're reading. But if you don't have the symbol there to read it, you wouldn't know necessarily to use the inflection in that way. Let's look at another example. This is also great. Some people find inspiration in cooking their families and their dogs, and others find inspiration in cooking, comma, their families, comma, and their dogs. So punctuation in both of these cases, in all cases actually, serves a very specific purpose. It's there to tell us when to pause and for how long. So it's not just the words we say that have meaning, it's also the pauses in between the words that give meaning to what we say. We need them both in order to properly understand what we're talking about. So going back to the more familiar looking version of our text with the vowels and the tropes, we remember from the previous video our friend here, and let me turn on my magnifying glass. Our friend here under Shema, I'm pointing right at it. That's called a tipcha. And then under the next word, which is Yisrael, I'm pointing at this little, what looks like an upside down caret. May actually be able to see it a little bit easier without the magnifier. I'm pointing at the upside down caret thing, which sounds like this. Da, 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 or actually da, because it's under the El syllable. It would be El, Yisrael. Okay, that's how you would sing it, but I want to break it down so it's totally clear how and why I did what I did there. Okay, so remember the last video again, we saw that every trope has a pick up or a get ready part, and it's got a go part. And this trope is no different. So here we have the word broken up into its two parts. The go part sounds like Yisra, and the get ready part sounds like El, Yisrael, and together with the trope, it sounds like this. El, Yisrael, right? Now this trope is called Etna. So we go back now to Yisrael. We know that we can pronounce this word Yisrael. Okay, if we put it back together with Shema, which we may or may not remember, sounds like Shema Yisrael. We now can sing that little phrase there. Okay. Now we already found the other places where our friend tipcha occurred, which is that symbol under the Shema. But let's see if we can now find all the places where we have an etnachta. Now, you can see here there's a red the Yisrael has an etnachta. This word here, Elohecha, has one. This word bam, al yadecha. There's only a few of these things. Only 4 of them actually. They're not even one in every verse. Now, what we need to know about etnachta as a punctuation mark is that it's a pretty significant one. It's not quite as strong as a period, but it is stronger than something like a comma. Maybe I guess it's the closest thing is a semicolon. So it's a very important symbol and requires us to make some kind of pause afterwards every time we sing it. But there's something else about this that you need to see. So I want to take a look at this text with a little bit of color. And if we look carefully at the symbols, we can see that there's a pattern here. Okay, here in this first one, we've got Yisrael, Shema, we've got an etnachta and a tipcha. Here's our next etnachta. We don't know what this one is yet, but there's a tipcha again. Okay, so it's 3 words, tipcha and an etnachta with this new thing sandwiched in the middle. Down here, we've got v'dibarta with a tipcha again and an etnachta on the word bam. Down here, we've got this symbol, which we haven't met yet, followed by a tipcha and an etnachta. So we know we've got some kind of sequence here that's being repeated in one form or another every time we see an etnachta. There are 2 things that they have in common, right? Each one of them ends with etnachta, and they all have a tipcha in them, okay? So let's take a look at the sequence without all the text and get yet a closer look at it. Okay, what we are looking at right here is what's called the basic etnachta sequence. It's comprised of 4 separate tropes: the mercha, tipcha, munach, and etnachta. I've highlighted mercha and munach in green because we haven't really talked about them yet, so they're new to us for the moment. And the gray boxes here just symbolize random words. I figured if we took out the words and just put boxes in their places for the moment, it would be easier to see the tropes in isolation without all the words distracting us. Now, in the basic etnachta sequence, all 4 tropes appear beneath the word, and specifically beneath the syllable that they're emphasizing on a given word. We will see other tropes down the road in other kinds of sequences that appear above the word or even next to the word. So they don't necessarily have to be below the word, although in this family they happen to be. You may have noticed, though, that this basic sequence didn't actually appear in the text that we were looking at. We had variations of it with 1 or more trope missing, but we didn't actually have this sequence. If we did, we would have actually seen a sequence of 4 words, and we didn't see one of those. We didn't see a sequence of 4 words. The longest sequence we had was 3. So you'll recall that each word in the Torah is chanted according to at least 1 trope. So if we have 4 tropes, we would expect to see phrases of 4 words. But as I just said a moment ago, that's not what we saw. We see a phrase here of 2 words. We see a phrase here of 3 words, another 2-word phrase, and another 3-word phrase. Okay, so this seems a little random at the moment, but I want to take another look at it using a little bit different graphic so we can see what these phrases all have in common and what they don't have in common. Here's a little chart that I made. At the top of this chart, we have the basic phrase, which we already know. It goes like this: Mercha, tipcha, munach, etnachta. Mercha, tipecha, munach, etnachta. And we remember that this phrase didn't actually appear in our text, but all the other sequences did. We did have a sequence that starts with the tipecha, tipecha, munach, etnachta. Let's go back and look at it. That was this one right here on the second line. Tipecha, munach, etnachta. Okay, let's go back to our chart. On the third line, we have tipcha et nachta, tipecha et nachta, which we'll remember from our very first phrase, Shema Yisrael tipecha et nachta. We also see that same sequence down here. V'dibarta bam, v'dibarta bam. Now, why am I singing bam instead of Yisrael da 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 bam? Because you'll remember that bam as a one-syllable word doesn't have a get ready part. It only has go. And the go part of et nachta is just a single note. Da. It's not da da, it's just da. Going back to our chart, we have one more combination on our chart, and that's here at the bottom. Mercha tipecha et nachta. And going back to our original page, we see this right here. Ukshartam leot al yadecha, mercha tipecha et nachta. Now, just comparing these sequences to the basic sequence, it's pretty easy to see how we arrive at these particular sequences. We're either dropping out the mercha, or we're dropping out the munach, or in the case of this third line here, we're dropping out both of them. It's that simple. And because we already see that every et nachta sequence is going to have in common an et nachta and a tipcha, we know that there can be no other combinations of these four tropes, because all we can do is either get rid of a munach or a mercha or both. There are no other options here for us. So the et nachta family consists of these four sequences. Okay? Now there's one other aspect of this that I need to explain to you. So I want to do it by way of a song about man's best friend. Remember the song about Bingo? There was a man who had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Oh. We go through the song a bunch of times. Every time we do it, we drop out a letter and leave the rest of the letters unchanged. We could sing it like this. I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Oh. Or we could sing it like this. N-G-O, N-G-O, N-G-O. Like, we're just going to keep taking out letters until we are left with nothing, right? That's how the song works. Well, the trope sequences that we're looking at nachta, and all the others that we're going to look at, work exactly the same way, except for this one little twist that we already saw. In this actual song, we take out letters in order until we get to the end. In trope, what we've already seen is that we can lose a trope in more than one place. So if we were using this song as an example, we might see something like this, where the letters stay in order, but we're dropping out letters in different places. So it would be I-N-O, see, this is not easy. I-N-O, 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 right? So the letters stay in the same order, but we're just dropping out letters in different places. Also, I might sing it this way. B-I-O, B-I-O, B-I-O. So it doesn't matter which letters we lose, as long as we know how to spell bingo, we're still going to be able to sing that song, because we're not changing the order of letters, we're not adding any letters that aren't there in between, because then it wouldn't spell bingo anymore. Okay? So going back to this family, we're never going to change the order of these tropes. We're never going to put another symbol in between et nachta and one of its other family members. So that's why we know, when we know how to sing this basic trope up here at the top, this basic phrase, that we're only dropping out munach and mercha. We're not rearranging anything. We're just going to drop out one of these. We're never going to add anything else that we're not familiar with into this sequence. And so we'll always know how to sing it. It takes some getting used to, and you'll need to practice it, but once you get that basic phrase, you really are golden. With some of the other families, it does get a little bit more complicated, but the principle is the same. You know how to chant that basic sequence. You know how to chant all the possible sequences for that family. Now here we are back to our highlighted text. We realize now that all we're seeing are variations on that basic sequence. Tipcha etnachta. Second line. Tipcha munach etnachta. Fourth line here. Tipcha etnachta. The fifth line. Mercha tipcha etnachta. If you had let's say you had a text that wasn't already highlighted this way, all you would need to do is go on a little etnachta treasure hunt. First, you'd want to locate all the words that have the etnachta underneath them. So you see this word here, you see this word here. Now these aren't, you pretend they're not highlighted, okay, but they are. Once you find the etnachta, because that's the thing they all have in common, it was an etnachta at the end. Starting at the end, you're going to work your way backwards to identify which type of etnachta phrase you're looking at. So here's an etnachta, here's a munach, that's definitely part of an etnachta phrase. Here's a tipcha, that's also part of an etnachta phrase. Yep, and now here's this thing, I don't even know what that is, okay? But the fact that I don't know what it is means I know that I'm looking at a different phrase, okay? So this here is the end of my phrase. Let's do that again here. Here I've got my etnachta, here I've got a tipcha, and if I was going to see anything else that would be part of this phrase, it could only be a mercha, but I don't see a mercha, I see this. So this tells me that I've got here a two-word phrase. Now it can be a little confusing when you have an etnachta near the beginning of a line. So here's our etnachta down here. We're going back, back, back. Here's the tipcha. Oop, I'm at the end of the line. Or am I at the end of the line? I'm at the beginning of the line, because remember we're reading Hebrew right to left. So to see if I have anything else before this, I have to go back up here to the beginning of to the end of the previous line. And what do I see? I see a mercha. Mercha, it's the very beginning of the basic sequence. So I know that there's not going to be anything else. Okay, so I know that's the beginning of my phrase. That may or may not make sense to you, but once you get a little bit of practice at it, just start looking through texts and going on these little treasure hunts. You'll start to see these sequences, and they'll start to make a lot of sense. And again, remember, there are only these 4 sequences. Okay, so once you start getting familiar with them, you'll be able to easily recognize them, and no matter how long the words may seem or how complicated they are. So we've now learned how to apply tropes to words in our last video, and now we know how to apply trope sequences to phrases. What we need to do next is to learn what some of the other sequences are, some of the other trope families. Etnachta is one of the most common of all the trope families, but in our next 2 videos, we'll take a look at 2 other trope families that, taken together with this one, account for about 50 to 60% of everything that we're ever going to have to chant. All the families work basically the same way, so once you understand how this family works, you understand how all the families work, and you'll be ready to start chanting texts of your own in no time. Now we look back at our original text, we can see that while there are still some pretty big gaps in our knowledge, the pieces of this puzzle are really starting to come together and make a little bit more sense. So I hope you'll join me for the next video when we learn about the Sof Pasuk family. See you then, and happy laning!